Let's talk about one of the most talked about films of the moment, Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans. We are Boys on Film. My name is Phil Marriott. Look who's here. It's Sean Vickers. Ta-da! Drum roll. Crashing cymbals. Party poppers.
Ready to talk about Spielberg.
Excellent. Before we do that, though, let's say hello to all our new followers, because we gained loads over the last week. Very exciting. I think we gained about 1,000 followers. No, we didn't. We've got to about, I think it's 1,400 followers.
Last week.
It was about 700, I think.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of followers last week. I have to say, applause to you, Phil, because you've done all the hard work. I was just in the background cheerleading.
So The Fabelmans, then. I haven't seen it, but you have. Tell us more.
Well, God, it's yet a deep breath there. Me and my husband are trying to get through all the Oscar films. And so we had to go and see The Fabelmans, right? I don't think I would have gone to see The Fabelmans at the cinema if it wasn't upcoming with the Oscars and whatnot. Anyway, went to the Everyman. It was gorgeous, as always. It's a very loose story, which is based on Spielberg's life. And it follows the Fabelmans family and Sammy Fabelman, who is supposed to be maybe loosely Spielberg, and his parents, played by Michelle Williams and Paul Dano, who are gorgeous. And it really follows their life about how he gets into initially filmmaking and why he's drawn into that, and then how filmmaking impacts not only himself but his family as he grows and gets older and starts to think about filmmaking as a career rather than just a hobby.
And we should say your cat is in the background. Hello to your cat there, who's probably going to start zooming about.
The cat's in the background. They're
making
both
noises. And also, you're a bit like this. You're like a bit Met or Mickey. That's a cultural reference to the kids. A little bit, because the Wi-Fi is a bit slow. But I just wanted to point that out, just in case anyone thinking that is you and not the signal.
Not me. That's not me. So yeah, it's an interesting premise. It is through and through a Spielberg film, right? So I'm just going to leave that out there, and film lovers will know exactly what I mean. Like, it is to some extent wholesome, to some extent it's shot in a very specific way, which I'm not dissing. It just feels very Spielberg. There are moments, there are ebbs and flows. It is safe, in inverted commas, if that makes sense. Like, it isn't overly racy, there isn't lots of profanities. But there is a plot line there, for sure, a very adult plot line that operates within part of the film. But it's done in a Spielberg way.
But you say that, and I completely agree. Spielberg, there is something about his movies that do feel very wholesome. But equally, I think there's like a dark undercurrent. It's like you think about E.T. and there's definitely a darkness to that film. I mean, and also profanity as well. There's quite a bit of swearing in that film, and you think it's a kid's film, but actually there's quite a lot of adult stuff going on.
Listen, there's two quite big things here, because at some point it leans into and talks to his mother's mental health, and then it talks into a situation that's happening with his mother and his father's best friend. So there are big topics at play here. It's the way Spielberg presents those topics, because they are still through the lens, the silver screen lens. They are never necessarily raw. It's beautifully shot. I say it speaks a lot to Spielberg. It speaks a lot to his story, you know. And I think what's interesting is they're a family of two halves. So on his mother's side, they are very creative and artistic. On his father's side, they're very scientific. And so his father really is leaning Sammy Fabelman into this. You need to get a proper job. You could be an engineer like me. And his mother is the one who's like, no, explore this more. Explore the camera work. Explore what this means. Be creative. I think that's really interesting as a way it frames like the pressure that's on him as a youngster, really, and about how he perceives his passion for cinematography and filmmaking, and how that builds over the years, which you follow through the nature of the film.
With that premise in mind, does it feel a bit self-indulgent on Spielberg's part? Because obviously it's, you know, rumoured to be semi-autobiographical. Does it feel like it's just his thing to enjoy and not the audience's?
No, I don't think so. It doesn't come across as kind of self-indulgent or smug, or I don't know, it doesn't come across in any of those ways. It tells a story, and the fact that it's loosely based on him kind of sits in the back of your mind. But like many situations, it's kind of been, as I say, it's been gone through this Hollywood filter. The whole thing goes through a Hollywood filter and comes out the other side, and that's Spielberg, and that's what he's got a skill for, right? So he is tackling the big topics here, but he tackles it in a very specific way,
So when you left The Everyman, what was your first thought? How did you feel after seeing The Fabelmans?
Honestly, I was like, meh.
Ah. What about your husband?
He was like, meh.
Oh.
We both kind of sat there, the credits came up and we went,
meh.
All right.
Let's go for a pint.
And like, we've seen a lot of films. I feel like every film at the moment is about 96 days long, right? Yeah. And The Fabelmans is no exception. So it's quite a long film. It does hold you, it does hold you. It's quite, it's quite an interesting movie. It's quite entertaining. But the credits rolling, you go, okay, cool.
Definitely one for Joan Collins. Did you see her post? She's been, berating the fact that so many films are very kind of gritty and overly long. How long is it? An hour and a half?
Oh, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I will get those facts up for you listeners and viewers.
Hi, Joan, by the way. You okay,
Hi, Joan. Love you. It's 2 hours and 31 minutes.
Wow, that is quite long. Oh, Joan, it's not one for you.
Not one for you, Joan, babes. I get it, and I'm not disrespecting him as an incredible filmmaker and having been someone who has shaped cinema, for no doubt. However, and I also kind of say Michelle Williams, as always, is fabo, like really fab. I don't know. It's a coming of age story. He talks about him being Jewish, and it's basically in a post World War II era and what the impacts of that. So there's some big topics at play here, and it follows a very traditional story arc. It has an Americanness to it, which is kind of like it has the kind of happy ending, or like, if you put the work in, then you get to the right place kind of thing, all through a Hollywood lens. And yeah.
Here's a question for you then, Sean. Is it better than West Side Story?
No. Which one? The original or the remake?
The Spielberg remake.
God.
I hated that. I had to turn it off.
Same.
It was doing my head in. It was too relentless, too crash bang wallop. Couldn't deal with it.
I also stopped remaking things. The originals are fine.
I mean, that Carrie remake, I know you wouldn't have seen that because it's not your bag, but Chloe Grace Moretz. Just
and I like Chloe Grace Moretz. I think she's quite major. I really like her in the peripheral. Remaking films is an entirely different Boys on Film episode where we can just sit here and slate them all because they're all shit. But I don't know. The Fabelmans it will do well for sure. You have to remember that the makeup of the Academy is primarily an older white man, so I'm sure that this film is going to do really well. It didn't really blow my socks off. I'm happy I've seen it. That's my closing comments.
Have we got a lukewarm star rating? It's probably 2.
I mean, I've been all the way to ice cold on our star ratings, Phil. So I'm sure. I mean, as a star rating, I'm somewhere between a 2 and a 3. Yeah, I probably, unfortunately, give it a 2-star for me. I thought it was absolutely okay, and that's damning in itself.
That's not going up on the billboard.
100% okay, this movie.
Tongue wedged firmly in cheek.
It's interesting because you go through the Oscar films and you look at like To Leslie, and I love Andrea Riseborough, and you go through the films and you're like, okay, get it. I understand. Like Blonde, I completely get Anna de Armas, although Blonde is a piece of noodly nonsense. Like, but like, you know what I mean? It takes itself really seriously. Does Blonde.
Bachelor's super
amazing.
Noodly nonsense.
Have you seen Blonde?
Yeah, I had to switch it off. Sorry, not for me, hun.
Seriously.
I'm all for dark biographical dramas, and I love the fact that it was the film that not people were expecting, because people were expecting it to be quite a cheery Marilyn Monroe biopic. But no, I love that. I love that idea, but I couldn't get into it.
I love the fact it had this really dark edge to it, and I love the fact that I thought she was incred. The problem I had with it was at times it thought it was cleverer than it was, but it was so it wasn't even nuance clever. It was just a bit like sledgehammer clever. Like, look how clever this thing is. And I was like, oh, give up. Stop.
Bit pretentious.
Have a day off. Yeah,
I can't judge because I haven't seen the whole thing, but I think I saw 30 minutes of it and no, wasn't working for me. So 2 stars for the Fabelmans. I haven't seen it, so I can't judge. Again, just like Blonde, but if you have seen it, drop a comment down below, smash the subscribe button. See what I'm doing? All these keywords that I've learned on social
and all
media.
these hand movements, really. I mean, I'm sure someone's going to at me, and I'm ready for the at.
You love an at.
What I would say is, sticker warning, if you at me, I'll at you back. Are you ready?
You give as good as you get.
Yeah, go for it. I love it. Go for it.
Thanks, Sam. See you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye. Hands
Bye.
again. Chloe.